Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members minus one of the fiscal court present, that means 8 out of 9, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
All right, does anybody have anything they'd like to add? I have 2 items to add. The first item would be an amendment to our detention center health services agreement. And how about we put that under item D, under contracts and resolutions. And then I do also under personnel action, number 4, appointment to the Code Enforcement Board. Board of Adjustments. Anything else? Hearing nothing, all in favor?
Oh, Tom,
Oops, sorry.
wasn't there something, does this get added, or? Stan Clark wanted to add an amendment to the health services agreement.
That's what I just did.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll ask our clerk, Sheila Fair, to please read the minutes from our October 2nd meeting.
October 2nd, 2018. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Magistrates Leslie and Eldridge were absent. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda, adding an additional code enforcement appointment. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting minutes of September 4th were read aloud and approved unanimously, noting one correction to change Highway 393 to 329 on the second page. Public comment. Rebecca Zocklin announced the county's annual Household Hazardous Waste Collection event is Saturday, October 20th from 9 to 3 at the Oldham County Fairgrounds, 2401 West Highway 146, LaGrange. For details on accepted items, call Oldham County Recycling at 565-1007 or visit their website, oldhamcountyky.gov. Nick Stevens with Construction announced first annual design and build competition to benefit the food banks in Oldham County. The event is November 2nd from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at City Place. Admission to event is one canned good item. To support a team or for more information, visit their website, construction.org. Larry Kaiser, LaGrange, suggested the idea of utilizing sponsorships on the I-71 signs similar to other Adopt a Road programs. Stephanie Hawkins of Crestwood encouraged those qualified to register to vote and take advantage of absentee voting if needed. For more information, visit website elect.ky.gov or contact the Oldham County Clerk's Office at 222-0047. County Administration Payables. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the payables. Motion carried 6-1. Magistrate Greenwell voted no. Community Business. First reading, proposed ordinance regarding the 50/50 flood grant assistance program. County Engineer Scott Harris presented for first reading proposed ordinance number 18-910-483, repealing and replacing ordinance number 06-360-462 to provide grant assistance for drainage repairs to property for certain homeowners whose property is being harmed by stormwater runoff. The second reading public hearing will be November 6th, 2018. Contract agreements and resolutions. Bid award for the cleaning contracts for the Fiscal Court building. Motion made by Magistrate Lincoln, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the Judge Executive to sign resolution number 02-10-0218 approving the contract with Doroto Tazioni, $30,000 annually to provide cleaning services for the Fiscal Court building. Motion carried unanimously. Bid award for the cleaning contracts for the police and dispatch buildings. Motion made by Magistrate Lincoln, seconded by Magistrate Tice to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the contract agreement with Corvus Janitorial, $700 a month total, to provide cleaning services for the police building and the dispatch building. Motion carried unanimously. Bid award for the Stream Pond Mitigation Project. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the contract agreement with environmental management specialists relating to the LaGrange Parkway Pond 5 Stream and Wetland Restoration Project. after amending the completion date, certificate of insurance amount, and a clause regarding legal jurisdiction of venue. Motion carried 6-1. Magistrate Likens voted no. Amendment to agreement with KYTC for the Park and Ride at Apple Patch. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the Judge Executive to sign Resolution 01-10-0218 relating to an amendment to the contract with KYTC for the Park and Ride at Apple Patch. Motion carried unanimously. Committee reports. Road Committee Performance Bond Release. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Likens, upon the recommendation of the County Engineer to release the $7,850 performance bond relating to the Stamper Addition development. Motion carried unanimously. Proposed closing of stub of Moser Farm Road. County Engineer Scott Harris presented a request to consider the discontinuance of Moser Farm Road stub as a county road, recorded right-of-way being 60 feet wide and approximately 450 feet long, starting east of Mountain Ash Lane and west of John Moser Way, and ending at the dead end of the stub. A public hearing is scheduled for October 16, 2018. Human Resource Committee job descriptions. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the job descriptions for Equipment Operator 1, 2, and 3. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Road Department. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell, to promote the following Road Department employees to Equipment Operator 2, effective October 2nd. Gary Miller at $15.79 an hour, Robert Moore at $15.30 an hour, and Anthony Clark at $15 an hour. Motion carried unanimously. Maintenance Department. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to hire Carl Ham as Maintenance Assistant 1 at $14.90 an hour, effective October 3rd, pending background check. Motion carried unanimously. Board appointments. Ambulance Taxing District. Motion made by Judge Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell, to reappoint Steve Turover to the Ambulance Taxing District Board with a term to expire October 16, 2020. Motion carried unanimously. Planning Commission. Motion made by Judge Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon, to reappoint Will Douglas to the Planning Commission Board with a term to expire October 7, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. Code Enforcement Board. Motion made by Judge Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to reappoint Stephen Moss to the Code Enforcement Board with a term to expire October 16, 2021. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Judge Vogel, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon, to appoint Jeffrey Poole to the Code Enforcement Board with a term to expire October 2, 2021. Motion carried unanimously. Briar Hill Road Taxing District Board. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds, to appoint Larry Roof, John Dolan, and Brian Weller to the Briar Hill Road Taxing District Board with terms to expire December 5, 2021. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Jane Ashley Pace with the Oldham Era announced the Oldham County Political Forum is 6 p.m. October 16th at City Place. Meet the candidates of contested national, state, and county and mayoral offices. This is a free event open to the public. Deputy Sheriff Michael Meese announced Oldham County Sheriff's Office and the Police Department are participating in the National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 27th, from 10 to 2. Drop-off locations are the LaGrange Fire Station 2 in Buckner, the Oldham County Police Department, and the North Oldham Fire Department. Emergency Management Director Jerry Naurt announced Ironman is Sunday, October 14th. Use extreme caution and expect delays during the bicycle portion of this event. Notifications and reminders will be sent out via the County Smart 911 emergency warning system. Contact him at 222-0799 or sign up on the county website. Announcements. Magistrate Lincoln stated Ironman is coming through Oldham County October 14th and asked drivers to please exercise patience and caution. Cyclists will be out practicing on roads until the event, especially on Highway 42. Magistrate Tice stated he received a report of a traffic accident on Highway 42 down at Hunter's Ridge subdivision. Traffic is highly congested in that area. Please be careful. Magistrate Greenwell announced Louisville Paving finished paving Highway 22 from Ballersville to Henry County line. Advised drivers along Veterans Memorial Parkway to exercise caution as the road is still under construction to install turn lanes and shouldering. The area is very congested. Magistrate Hounds announced the county's burn ban was lifted October 1st, and residents need to call dispatch at 222-0111 prior to burning. Encouraged residents to sign up for the Smart 911. Magistrate Hounds recognized a young resident of Oldham County, Connor Joy, who raised money with a lemonade stand for the purpose of helping sheltered animals. Connor visited the shelter in September and made a $25 donation to animal control. Magistrate Dye stated the Fox Hollow Farm Fall event benefiting Dare to Care is Saturday, October 13th from 9 to 6. He attended the recent Briar Hill Estates HOA meeting and stated he can be reached at 423-7171 if anyone has questions concerning the proposed closing of the Moser Farms road stub. Judge Vogel provided an update on the KYTC project to widen Highway 42. The project has been moving slowly, hindered by legal challenges and now issues with moving utilities, and won't be starting construction until 2020. He announced the formal opening of LaGrange Parkway is scheduled October 9th from 11:30 to 1:30, and the ribbon cutting is open to all. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting adjourned at 3:25 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from October 2nd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The clerk, please note that 9 minutes after 2, Magistrate Leslie joined the meeting. Time now for public comment. That's the time during our meeting when anyone who would like to address the fiscal court is able to do so. And we generally allow 4 minutes or more if needed, and we have Becky Zockline here.
Thank you, Judge and magistrates. Once again, I'd like to remind you and the county to participate in our household hazardous waste event. This comes around only once a year, and it's an opportunity to get rid of any hazardous chemicals that may be lurking in a shed or garage or under a sink. So please take this opportunity to come to the fairgrounds this coming Saturday, the 20th, between 9 and 3. Your substances will be unloaded for you. There is plenty of help, and they'll be handled efficiently and safely. Once again, we do not accept any water-based or latex paints. Those can be dried out and thrown in the garbage. Any questions?
All right, we've done this a number of years. It's always
Yeah.
a successful event, so this is the time to unload those items that are hard to get rid of at any other time of the year.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Becky. All right, I'm going to invite Brenda Demick now from the State Labor Department to come forward. Brenda was here with another lady this morning and some of our local people to talk to us with me about an apprentice program that the state is offering, and I invited Brenda to stay so she could share the information with our fiscal court and community. So welcome, Brenda.
Thank you very much for having me here. I do want to make the correction, I'm no longer with the Labor Cabinet. We have moved to the Cabinet of Education and Workforce Development. So, having said that, an apprenticeship model works in any industry. There are 1,363 occupations that are recognized by the federal government as apprenticeable. It is a great earn and learn model. Apprenticeship starts with a job, so any employer here in Oldham County that needs to find a workforce, we can help build that workforce through an apprenticeship program. Apprentices typically earn $300,000 more in their career than someone who doesn't have a journey worker certification. So we have all kinds of industry. Like I said, 1,363 of them. There's the traditional ones you're used to of plumbing and electrical, but there's also healthcare, IT. I'm trying to think, the horseshoer, there's equestrian. There are currently 137 of those 1,363 registered in Kentucky. We have 254 programs registered that service 1,463 employers. So we have
Right, I
lots of
believe
opportunities.
We have some employers here in the county that
We have 4 employers who have
apprentice
apprenticeship programs.
Right.
I think it was Starlight Electric.
in East and Westbrook.
East
and-
Westbrook Construction, United Plumbing. The 4th one is escaping
And
me.
the fourth one, I think, was auto repair.
Oh,
business.
Springdale Automotive.
Right, so, but others are eligible,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Anybody that would operate a business with one or more that would be interested in having someone come and serve as an apprentice and learn the trade, so, is eligible to participate in the program, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And is there any financial assistance through the state or federal government on
Being
this?
a registered program would entitle you to any and all federal monies that are available and state monies. There's WIOA training funds. I'm working with a transportation intermediary that has helped 12 businesses in Kentucky get $157,000 to help grow their apprenticeship programs. So there are federal funding, and being a registered program gets you in touch with those funds available.
How would someone get in touch with you or the program if they'd like to learn
My
more or become involved?
Contact information is right there on the screen. You can also go to educationcabinet.ky.gov, and on that screen you can look at all the programs listed in Kentucky, what programs they have available as apprenticeships, and the contact person. So if you saw a company on that list that you were interested in, you would contact that employer. Then you would say, is your apprenticeship program available and open? If so, I'd like to see what I can do to register for that program. So if you also know of an employer you would love to work for, or that you do work for, and you would say, please have this apprenticeship program in our company, could you please reach out and ask how we can get you registered?
All right, good. So
This credential is as good or better as a college degree. It's recognized in all 50 states. And with this degree, or with this credential, you can go to any program in the country, the United States, Guam, Puerto Rico, and Canada, and be recognized as a licensed journey worker. And there's no college debt attached to this. And you can make as much or more money as a college degree. Not everyone needs a college degree, but everybody needs a job.
you're right about that.
Yes. So,
Any magistrates would like to ask anything about this? Magistrate Logson?
I'll leave some brochures with you guys, but I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys today.
Thank you for being here. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you bringing this information.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court?
Larry Kaiser, 3000 Maple Leaf Drive, LaGrange. 2 weeks ago, I came here talking about the warning signs and maybe a better way to fund them instead of taxpayer money. At the time, I don't think you guys wanted to take that up and asked that I call the transportation department if I wanted to. I've spent a couple hours on the phone trying to get a hold of folks. There was Jason Richardson out of Frankfurt, out of KYTC Division 5, who ultimately referred me to Frankfurt. And I'm waiting on a Stacy Timmel or a Mark McCoy to give me a call back. But it's been a challenge to find anyone that's been involved with this project or knows what I'm talking about. So it's my hope that I can ask you guys again to do something. If they're already designed, you've presumably worked with someone that is aware of these signs and what phase they're in. So that's really all I'm asking, is just to reconsider that, or somehow get involved with that, or perhaps give me the contact information for the persons responsible on the transportation side that have been involved with this project.
Okay, well, you brought this up 2 weeks ago, and ask you to refer to somebody else. These signs have been approved by the Federal Highway and by the by Kentucky Transportation Cabinets. Larry, appreciate the creativity in your idea, but it'd be very unlikely we would put advertising on a traffic sign. It's a mixed message. We're trying to communicate one thing and one thing only. We don't see any, when you see a sign that says Waterston Expressway, it doesn't say on there, brought to you by McDonald's. It just says Waterston Expressway. So, I think we'd be very reluctant to put any advertising, any sign, and that also presupposes the idea that there are advertisers who want to be on signs. We've got all kinds of advertising all over the place. It also presupposes somebody would go out and sell that advertising. And that also creates a cascade of issues and problems. So I think it'd be very unlikely, you'd have better luck getting advertising on school buses, which I don't think we have any here that I know of, but than we would on traffic signs. It's a conflict of information.
Okay, all right, I'll keep calling them then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the fiscal court? All right, seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment, and we'll go on to the first item on our agenda today, and that has to do with the Eden Parkway extension. Jim Urban. And I believe we've asked, the Eden Parkway extension has to do with a section of road in Oldham County that goes past the Rawlings Company, but then reaches a height, an eighth of a mile or so down the road, and then comes to a stop. There is about roughly a half mile between the end of the Eden Parkway extension and the new LaGrange Parkway. What we have here are submissions of qualifications for engineering firms to design a road. Jim, would you like to elaborate on that?
I can if you need me to, Judge. That was a good explanation, though, of what we're here. These are just qualification-based proposals. We have a selection committee that will put together to review them. We'll select a consultant and then negotiate a contract with them and bring it back for your all's approval.
Right. If we can get this road built, it will mean that there is easy circulation throughout the entire park for anybody who's there. So what I'll do is, as Sheila does these packages, I'll announce who we received the qualifications from, okay? This is Bakeman, Farmer, and Workman Engineering. Maybe would you want to help? The next package is from Mendel Scott. The submission is from DLZ, Architects, Engineers, and Planners. This document is from QK4. All of these were submitted in multiples so that each person on the committee would have a copy of the document. This one is from Palmer Engineering. This one's from GRW Engineering. All nicely assembled documents. I wish we had this many options with everything we do. All right, here's one from HMB Professional Engineers of Lexington. BTM Engineering, Louisville. Our final submission is from Burgess and Nipel Engineering. think you want to take these, and
I'll take these and
we'll get the others later. Okay, thank you. We'll have a committee of 5 people who will examine these engineering submissions, reduce the number down to probably 3, and then we'll have a face-to-face interviews with those 3 engineering firms. And that's for the Eden Parkway extension. Now next item is the bid opening for the interstate warning signs. You recall, these are signs to be placed at each one of the on-ramps, near each on-ramp to the I-71 in Oldham County. And these signs are designed to let people know, north or southbound, that there is a delay waiting for them if they were to get on the interstate. As you know, we have many people backing up on on-ramps now. Dangerous situation. If you see something flashing telling you there's a problem ahead, you'll have to go some other direction or take your chances on how long you'll be out on the interstate. A week ago, or maybe it was last Thursday, I don't think it was a week ago Thursday, we had 6 accidents on I-71 last Thursday. That was, I'm not sure if that's a record, but it's getting close to it if it's not. Not all of them were major, but they were all, a problem that police respond to, and a couple of them caused long-term delays. All right, here is the first bid is from ERS OCI Wireless of Louisville. And it looks like bid price $88,672. The next one is from George Stone Company of Sharpsburg, Kentucky. Says here $48,000. Next one is Tapco, Brown Deer, Wisconsin. $208,960. So obviously, if you listen to those numbers, first question comes to mind, are we all talking about oranges here, or are we talking about apples and oranges? That's something we have to do when we look at these contracts. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, those are the 3 submissions. Yes, sir?
Is this for, looking through the bid thing, I'm not exactly sure if is this for 1 or 2? Looks like the package is for 2. Is that correct?
Kevin?
Explain, 2 what?
Signs, 2
Oh,
units.
this is for 8 signs, 2 signs.
All 8?
Yes.
It says here it says package includes 2, so down here in the other one where you get the 8. Okay, all right, so it's for all 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
See, it's in the RFP, so I need to review the proposals and make sure that they bid it correctly.
I hope the guy that did the 48,000, hope he didn't read it like I read it the first time.
Well, these are bids. We don't necessarily take the lowest bid. We take the best bid, the complete bid.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
not saying that it wouldn't be that, but there's a pretty big discrepancy there between the anticipated costs. All right, thank you. Next item has to do with the bid opening for tandem dump truck. Kentucky truck sales, total bid not to exceed $109,976. Ewell truck sales, $115,864.21. Wayne Supply, $159,963. Wayne Supply, $121,152. Any reason why we get two bids? Same company? Are these different trucks or what?
Same location. They have a truck on the lot, the expensive one, which is actually a Traxel, and it's their top of the model truck, and he just asked if he could put a bid in. I said, sure, that's fine. The second bid from Wayne was what we were actually spec'd out.
Right. Thank you.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
we do not expect to award this today.
Road Department, Road Committee will look over the bids and make a decision on them. All right. The next item is county budget transfers. Ask our treasurer, Melissa Horn, to go through that.
As we close the books on the first 3 months of this fiscal year, I'm asking for budget line item transfers to cover deficit balances in several accounts. First transfer is a correction on a budget number for the stormwater district transfer. The auditors have told us I was booking it to the wrong account. There's no change in the amount that was budgeted. It's simply a correction on the account number. The other amounts are all expense accounts where we have exceeded our budget or expect to exceed it by the end of the year. So the total of the line item transfers, it's a credit number of $401,365 because that includes $525,000 of revenue that I had to move for stormwater. In addition to that, we had discretionary salary increases that totaled $38,382. Those need to be moved from the discretionary account into each of the departmental accounts. And then I also have fund transfers between general fund, road fund, dispatch, and jail. And those year-to-date are $453,913.
I'd like to move we approve those, Judge.
All right, moved and seconded that these budget items be transferred around and just, brought up to square up with our budget for the year. There's no money coming out of reserve here. It's just basically a rebalancing of different funds.
Correct.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item here are the payables, and when you're ready, I'll take a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Anyone have any questions on anything that has come up this time? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item has to do with the public hearing now. We had proposed this continuance of a Mosier Farm stub road, and I'm going to, when I say public hearing, that means that anyone who is here today to speak for or in opposition of the proposed court action will have an opportunity to do so in just a little bit. But first, we're going to have a summary here from our county engineer, Scott Harris.
Good
And
afternoon.
the guest with him.
Scott Harris, 100 West Jefferson Street, and
Dan Schmidt, 10717 Worthington Lane.
Dan is one of the committee members that the court appointed last time to help with this. The fiscal court may direct the county road, any county road, to be discontinued. To do that, notices must be published according to the provisions of KRS 178050. This is the published notice from the Oldham era. In addition, notices must be placed at 3 prominent locations. These are the signs that we had made up. and were placed at the 3 prominent locations within a mile of the road. After posting these notices, the fiscal court shall appoint 2 viewers who have no vested interest in the discontinuance of the road, together with the county road engineer, shall view the road and report in writing at the hearing what inconvenience would result from the discontinuance. Dan was one of the members, like I said. The second member, Frank, is not here today, but we are here to report on what we found. As a review of what it is we're looking at, this is Mosier Farm Road. And the old Mosier Farm Road had a stub that came down like this. This is what we're talking about closing. Okay? There's 2 homes here and open space here, which is part of the subdivision off of Mosier Farm Road. A little bit better description. It's 60 foot of right-of-way with the paved road that ties onto the existing, the current road. While posting the signs, we started getting phone calls almost immediately. A lot of people didn't want to leave their names. 9 people did. We've talked to all of them. We find no inconvenience for closing this road. There were some concerns, misunderstandings that we were closing Mosier Farm itself when it was pointed out that this little thing that everybody thought was a driveway was actually Mosier Farm Road. As near as we can tell, everything was resolved. So that's our report.
That's our staff report. Now, Magistrate Dye, this is in your district. Are there any individuals here who would like to speak other than their committee here, speak in favor of the application?
There's 2 individuals. One is the gentleman that came to me, Mr. Mueller, and Mr. Such has raised his hand, so if they'd like to step forward if they want and make a comment or not.
Right.
I also contacted some of the people that Mr. Harris talked about, and once they had explained to them a little more in depth what was going on, they kind of laughed and said, okay, and that was it.
Well, since this is a public hearing, I'll ask you both to raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Please state your name and address.
My name is David Such, and I am a resident in Mosier Farm. I'm a member of the Mosier Farm Homeowners Association. I'm the chairperson for the Worthington Fire Department, and also have known Tim for quite a few years. Used to contract with him when I was president twice of the Neighborhood Association. And so we have no objection at all to allowing Tim and the other homeowner to take access and ownership of this road. We've worked out an agreement, which is there's only one concern. We have a park area, as was pointed out in the picture earlier, that's right next to the roadway. And that park area, in order to gain access, we either have to drive through a couple of pillars across the grass, and Tim is going to allow us, if we have anything like we're going to build a gazebo or we're going to add a dog park and need to pull some fencing into there, Tim is going to allow us in our agreement to have access to the roadway. So we really have no objection at all and think it's a smart thing. We always thought it was the driveway for those homes anyway, so anyway, so thank you for letting me address you, and Tim will...
Tim, you like to speak? Yeah.
Yes, my name's Tim Miller. I live at 6004 Mosier Farm Road, and asking your permission to close that road. That is considered my driveway.
Right. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, guys. Anybody else would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody, okay, thank you. I'll close that part and go on to the second part of the public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to speak in opposition to the proposed closing? All right, seeing no one, I'll close that part of the public hearing and go to the fiscal court. Magistrate Dye, is there a motion?
Second motion, Judge, we proceed on this.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded that we go ahead and close the Mosier Farm stub road as requested. Is there discussion on the topic? Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Scott, would you mind putting that map back up there that shows the driveway and the open space?
Councilman.
I think it's it. Yes. The open space there that you all call parkland, is that designated that in perpetuity? Or is it ever possible that it'll be developed?
There is, it's designated as open space
Okay.
when the subdivision was created.
Okay.
I believe it was lot 107, but it is designated as open space, and, no, I'm sorry, 171. And it does have two pillars, one about here and one about here, that have giant bushes growing in front of them, big junipers. And if you move those bushes, there are plaques that refer to it as, I believe it's Zerker Park.
Okay.
We researched, as far as we can tell, park is an accessory use of an open space, so they can have that there without any other permission, but it doesn't give it any particular rights or require parking or anything. It's just a park. There are several other parks through.
Is it owned by the homeowners association?
It's open space, so that would be my take, is yes.
Okay. Okay. My only concern is that if there were to be developed somehow, some way, would they have an access easement to get in and out? And the two stone pillars look like that would be the way.
It would be. There's no curb cut there. There's no sidewalk there. The sidewalk's actually on the other side of the rest of Mosier Farm Road through that section. I've never seen anybody out there. I've been out there 4 times since the last hearing. My staff's been out there a few times. And I walked it. It's a nice open space. It's very green. It's maintained nicely. It does have an electrical easement that runs through it. The guy wire of it actually comes down within the right-of-way as it ties in.
Okay.
Magistrate Likens.
Yes, sir. Has it been decided how the 60-foot right-of-way will be divided? Who will own that?
No, that wasn't part of our, what was requested. Where the line is drawn to actually, I just drew a line on here to connect Mosier Farm right-of-way to Mosier Farm right-of-way. Where that line is hasn't even been defined. We're looking to close the road. The definition of the exact what is that right-of-way has not been determined, or where it goes. As I understand the KSR, half of it would go to the park, the open space. Half of it would go to the adjoining property owners. But that's really a question for esteemed council up here.
That's the way we've done it before, is to give half to each side. I just don't know if that had been decided yet.
That wasn't, I don't think that was part of what we were asked to do.
Okay.
Is that a
Carter?
question? Is that a question to me?
You can take it.
When you close a road, the statute goes into effect, and by operation of law, if somebody owns the property underneath the road, it goes to them. If they don't, then the adjacent property owners divide it in half. Half goes to the property that abuts one side, and half goes to the property that abuts the other side. But there's nothing that the court needs to do to resolve that issue. You just close the road.
Does it have to be recorded?
No. No, the record of the closure of the road is the minutes of the fiscal court meeting, which are recorded in the county clerk's office. And that's the reference to the title to whoever owns the property under the road we just closed.
Thank you.
Does anyone own the underlying property that we know of?
As I understand it, this was what used to be called a farm-to-market road. So that's the beginning of our research as to if anyone actually owns title. We have not run into anyone with title at this point.
It may go back to stagecoach days.
I just hope it's not engraved rock tablets.
All right. We've got a motion and a second to close the road. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going to go on to contract agreements and resolutions. Item D here, the supplemental agreement for the 1793 sidewalk project. Going to ask our sidewalk project expert, Brenda Demas, to outline this request.
This is a supplemental agreement with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for $90,000 in federal funds for the construction phase of the Kentucky 1793 sidewalk project. This will require a $22,500 match, and the Ridgeview Homeowners Association has committed to $29,000 in matching funds for the overall project, and we are asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
I'd like to make that motion, Judge.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on this? Pretty clear cut. The sidewalk extension and
A new section.
new section of sidewalk. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll deal with the supplemental action for the detention center. Our jailer, Mike Simpson, is here. That was an extra piece that you were given here at the beginning of the meeting. Believe we just need to make some adjustments here on the amount of
Yes,
work
Judge.
being done at the detention center. correct?
Absolutely. First of all, let me thank Fiscal Court for putting this on the agenda because it's kind of got to us a little bit late. This is something that Stan and I have been working on for a little bit. Basically, today, we're just needing, obviously, for the court to approve, Judge to sign. This is an amendment to our current healthcare contract. And a little bit of back history. When we put that up for bids over a year ago, part of the bid specifications, if you all recall, was based on that we were going to be the full-service facility moving into for the immigration. Prior to that, at our old jail, we were classified as a 72-hour holding facility only, and thinking that we were going to be this full service, it required a lot more to meet their requirements, their specifications. That didn't happen. I think everybody here on the court realizes that we're not that. We retained the 72-hour. So after that took place, we started having some meetings with Southern Health Partners, and we were able to renegotiate basically midterm here, which everyone should have a copy of that amendment to do that. Because of the fact that we're going to retain the 72-hour classification, it reduced the annual cost over about $115,000. So I'll be glad to answer any other questions concerning that.
We're just not going to use as much health insurance or health services as we thought we would need previously, so
Right.
I appreciate you and Mr. Clark getting out there and recognizing the reduced need and helping us
Absolutely.
capture this savings. Is there a motion to allow me to sign this? Is there any discussion on it? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. And Judge, if I could just take a quick moment since I was here. It's been a couple of months since I was before the Fiscal Court. Just kind of give you an update. If you recall, you probably don't remember the exact numbers. When I was here a couple of months ago, our head count, the inmate head count, was around 230, with about 190 of those as far as generating revenue. So between that point and today, our head count now is at 289 today. So we went from about 230, and the amount of inmates that are generating some revenue from 190 to 252. So that just brings us up to date to where we are on that issue. I just wanted to share that with the court. We are continually contacting on the state level and other agencies to generate even more. We're working on trying to get some more residents in there to fill up the beds, but we're at 289 as we speak today.
All right, so that essentially means that we have 37 Oldham County inmates.
That's exactly right. We have 37 was our Oldham County count.
Right, the Oldham County inmates arrested who are from Oldham County
Yes,
are
with
the
Oldham
guests
County
of Oldham
charges
County
pending.
until they're
That is correct.
convicted of state charges.
That is
Everybody
correct.
else in there is receive reimbursement for their incarceration.
That is correct.
Right.
Judge, I think you've got them both directions.
Okay, Magistrate Dye?
Yeah, I went to a KCO meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about corrections and all that. Has any of with the bonding out, that this changed a little bit, over the years, how people are bonding out, you're holding people in, not you, but the judges are holding people in with a bond higher than they would get for the fine for what they're charged with? Is that, have you seen any, lightening up of letting some of our local people out?
Well, Bob, let me talk specifically to people who are charged with misdemeanors. It really has affected that. Out of these particular numbers, here, this total number of 289, I probably have 7 in that jail of this charged with a misdemeanor. So you can kind of see, so 200 and almost 280 of those are all felons.
Right,
So
so that's
it
7,
has-
it's just either it's a high enough misdemeanor, or they just got no way to bond out.
Exactly. So it really has helped to keep that segment of the population out of your correctional facilities.
Right.
And we've seen the results.
So, well, the old saying, but you get to be people in jail that you're mad at, not you're afraid of, and I think
Right.
we're trying to reduce that number.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Magistrate Greenwell?
Thank you, Judge. Mike, out of that number of revenue-producing inmates, how many of them are state inmates?
Steve, I didn't break it down, but I'm going to say of the 252, I know we have about 80 federal, okay? And out of county, we probably have close to 40. So I'm just doing this backwards. So there's 120, and, so about 130 something, I would say, or state, yes. Which is just a huge need for it right now, really.
Magistrate Likens?
Thank you, Judge. A few months ago, you were working on trying to get some inmates from Indiana, I believe, and
Yes.
that snagged.
Yeah, if you recall.
Because of some reason?
It got hung up. They were going to have to get Attorney General opinion from the state of Indiana to make sure they wanted to research it. Right? And then the same thing on the Kentucky side. Now, Judge and I just recently talked about that. So far, I've not heard anything from that. That was an avenue that I really wanted to go after. But at this point, we've not gotten anything up that. So I don't know where it is at this stage. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Judge, and going back to the signed contract, they indicated obviously, it's going to go through here today. The effective date, I think they said November the 15th. Stan, is that correct? November 15th? That's right.
Okay.
So the new amendment to the contract will go into effect November the 15th.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
The next item here has to do with the Study Review Committee, and I believe Jim Urban and Amy Alvey are here, would like some direction from the Fiscal Court regarding barrel warehouses.
Sure. Thank you, Judge, Magistrates. Good afternoon, Ms. Fair. Regularly, as your staff, we bring you recommendations for ordinances to be considered and adopted by Fiscal Court and legislative bodies. And we do that through a process of going through the Study Review Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Planning Commission. And we have public meetings, and we kind of hash through things. Then the Planning Commission reviews them, and then we bring them to legislative bodies. One subject that we're looking at now is creating some regulations regarding not only distilleries but barrel warehouses for the distilling process. And in doing that, we realized that we wanted to come to Fiscal Court and have a preliminary discussion first to get your input as to the direction you'd like to see distilleries and barrel warehouses go in terms of land uses within the county. So Amy has done a lot of research. I'm going to ask her to really explain that. But again, what we're looking for from Fiscal Court and hopefully get your participation as we do these regulations is a kind of a direction on what you want to see for the location of distilleries and barrel warehouses.
Good afternoon. I emailed out to everyone the information. Again, these are just draft regulations. We're not asking today for you all to get into the nuts and bolts of everything of these. We're really looking for the direction, whether or not, or the direction of this would require a zoning change, or this would require just review and approval by the Planning Commission. A zoning change would obviously come to any legislative body, so it would be Fiscal Court, City of LaGrange, Pee Wee, or Crestwood. The areas that we anticipate that these types of uses would be are outside of the city limits of those three cities that are part of the Joint Planning Commission. So most likely the majority of these requests, if it was a zoning change, would come before Fiscal Court if we go down that path of a zoning change. So what we're pondering with right now is that in any property that is zoned agricultural.
When you first start, where are they allowed now?
Okay, they're only, distilleries are allowed only in I-1 and I-2, which is I-1 is light industrial, I-2 is heavy industrial. Those properties are normally smaller in size. There is one property out 146 going towards Henry County that is a larger tract of industrial zone property. And we have no regulations regarding barrel warehouses at this time. So though we have some language regarding warehouses, but nothing that really outlines the use of the property for barrel warehousing. So you'll see, again, from the information that I emailed out to everyone, we kind of have draft regulations, and the big question is that who wants to review and approve these type of plans? If it is a permitted use in the AG1 process, or in the AG1 zoning district, it would go before the technical review committee, where all of the agencies review it and comment back whether or not they have adequate infrastructure to support this project. Then it would go to the Planning Commission. We had discussed, and I confirmed with John Carter earlier today, that possibly if it goes to the Planning Commission level, can the Planning Commission treat it similar to that of a zoning change that comes to you guys as the legislative body for review and approval? And John has confirmed that no, it cannot do that. The Planning Commission cannot defer that decision to the legislative body unless it is a zoning change. So what we're asking today is what the process you all would like to see in place. Would it be something that would be considered a permitted use, and it would go before the Planning Commission and they would make the decision of whether this is an appropriate use of the property, or should it come to the legislative body as a zoning change, and those elected officials make the decision? And the same thing with barrel warehouses. Do we want to allow them as we would allow them as a conditional use, which would go to the appropriate Board of Adjustments, or would we also require that as a zoning change and come before the legislative body for review and approval?
So at the last study review committee, Magistrates Greenwell and Tice came, and they had some ideas. And again, we wanted to keep fostering those ideas and put them out in front of you, and hope that, again, that you would consider coming to the study review committee meetings as we go through these regulations. So for today, ask us questions, give us direction, help us decide which way to propose some regulations.
Magistrate Tice.
Let me start, because I do have some definite thoughts on it. These are just Wayne's thoughts, so we like them or not. I think that we ought to be looking at an agricultural business under the general ag uses in our book. As a conditional use, I think that distilleries and rick houses or barrel houses, whichever we want to call them, could also be in that as a conditional use. It's not an automatic permitted use, like raising corn and sowing beans and dairy barns and etc., but that it could be under the correct situations. And when I say the correct situation, I'm talking about setbacks, nearness to communities, and a whole gambit of other stuff, that it is safe for the community of Oldham County. In most, let me stop there a second, it'd be under a conditional use so that it would come before either us or the Board of of Adjustments.
It would only be allowed to come before the appropriate Board of Adjustments. It would not be allowed to come before Fiscal Court.
As a conditional use.
As a
As a
conditional
conditional use. But we would also be able to, I think, establish setbacks and the amount of acres required for the barrel houses. And in part of what we were passed out, one of the oldest bourbon counties in the state, which is Nelson County, they have a conditional use in an A1 zoning character. I think that's the way that makes sense to go forward. We can also do other things such as farm to market, and there's other lists of agribusiness that when these regulations were written back in 1969 or 70 that weren't even out there. One example I think of that we'll all be familiar with is a friend of mine named Bobby Klingenfuss, who had a dairy processing on his farm. It fits absolutely perfect with what I'm thinking, except I don't think we have that. I think he has it under permitted, but it would be perfect for what I'm thinking here. That's my thoughts on it. There's a lot of discussion to be had, but I think that one of the important things in here is because of the fermentation, we have setbacks, and that we don't have to the degree in our industrial, our light industrial. And then, now that doesn't mean all food processing would fit into this, but under conditional use, we can specify the specific industry like distillation of spirits, etc. So I think I'll stop there. If you want to add anything to that to Jim or...
Well, and one of the significant points of your thought was that we typically would not want to see necessarily distilleries in dense areas of the county. You'd want to see them in the outskirts. And when you do that, there's no industrially zoned land out there. So if it stayed in the industrial zoning, it would have to come through the zoning process and ultimately land at a public hearing in front of Fiscal Court. Your idea was if it was allowed as in an agricultural district, and if you said even as a conditional use, it would still have some kind of public hearing where the adjoining property owners would be notified, but it would be more, it would be a truncated process. It would only take 3 months instead of 6 to 9 months to go through a zoning process. So that was one of the key things. Larger land, that's where you really want them, out in the outskirts where there are fewer people.
If you look around the state, that's where you find most of the distilleries, all the new ones popping up. The only time you see the ones, and I'll use Jefferson County, Old Forester, Stitzel, Weller, they're in older parts of Jefferson County that was probably never thought of what would be happening when they start building those distilleries there. I just think that's the process I think that's the line of thought that we need to go on.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Thank you, Judge. I would echo what Mr. Tice has said here. I think the idea of doing it in agricultural is great. I think the draft regulations with the 200-foot setbacks, the 50-acre rule, I think it just speaks well. It's an opportunity for us to support private property owners, give them some openings that maybe they have not formerly had. It's also a way to support Ms. Buckler and the Tourism Commission. I think it's a win-win for everybody. So I would be wholeheartedly behind. The other thing, by streamlining that, they're not looking at 6 to 8 months on a turnaround. They can move much quicker.
Magistrate Likens.
Is a conditional use granted every year? Is it a time limit on a conditional use?
Well, we've had at least one where we did put some, we are required, if a conditional use is approved, we're required as staff to review them every year to make sure they're in compliance with the conditions placed on them. If they remain in compliance, they then become a permitted use by right after a period of time. We had one where we actually asked the applicants to come back on an annual basis. After we as staff reviewed it, the applicants for 3 years still came back to just say, okay, we're in compliance and we're still on board with the conditions, and that time has expired. So you can place that as a condition as well. But again, typically we do have to review conditional use permit applications annually until such time that we're satisfied that they're not going to go outside the boundaries of their conditions.
I, for one, can't figure out why Kentucky produces 95% of the world's bourbon and our state drink is milk.
Don't know. Anybody else like to comment on this? Pardon, go ahead, Magistrate Logson.
No, I participate in the study review committee. I participate in the study review committee, and I don't really have anything additional. You know, obviously tourism is in support of that, and if we can get land put in ag instead of industrial and speed that process, obviously that's good for tourism. The other thing that we've discussed that I've brought up a couple months in a row is in barrel storage warehouses, if we could have or at least consider or discuss a caveat that there be an attachment, an attraction attachment to that. So they bring something into the community. If you look at, say, Evan Williams Bourbon Experience, not necessarily a distillery added to the community, but an attraction of some kind, so we don't have distilleries that just have barrel storage and nothing else. They actually bring a tourism project with them. Could be historical. If you've ever been to Evan Williams, that's a perfect example of a tourism attraction, not distillery. They're his own distillery, and they do that, but they do 1 barrel a day. But that they bring something with them and not just build a building with barrels, that they bring something of value for the future of tourism in the county. And this is, I think, a perfect opportunity for us to look at that and look at the projects that we bring into the county. It's not very often we get to do that in tourism. And I think barrel warehouses in particular are something that we can discuss being able to do that with. Shelby County has done similar with Jephthah Creed. So I think that's
Is
something
it
to
practical
consider.
to expect everybody who wants to put up a barrel warehouse to have some type of
That is
attraction with it? I mean, there's only going to be so many that can be
it depends on
supported.
what you think of tourism and how important you think tourism is. Maybe, and it's in all we're saying, we met about it last night. All we're saying is to have the conversation to talk about that. It could be that it's not mandatory, wouldn't have to be a mandate necessarily, but maybe that's a way that would allow us to have an incentive for them. You know, we lack incentives in the county for that. Maybe this is an opportunity to work an incentive in to barrel storage. You're still going to get taxed on the barrels. The county's still going to make that. But what else can we bring in to add to tourism in the county? It's a huge industry.
Judge, some of the counties require that you can start to build your rick houses, but within 2 years you have to have your distillery on site and present. That's not unreasonable to request that. When you do that, the trend is today, and of course that's about all we got to go on, don't know what it's going to be 10 years from now, is they also have the tours of the distilleries, and that's big right now, and then they also have your tasting and all that goes along with it. I think that if we go this route, then I think as we go forward, then either your study review committee or your planning and zoning and people that are interested go to those meetings and set up the guidelines for the conditional use. In other words, it's not automatic that you get the distillery in your county. It could be that you're too close to LaGrange. It could be you're too close to Crestwood. It could be you're barely you could be any stipulation that would be not inducive for the rest of the environment of the community. But if it is, then you'd have a way to go forward with that. And there's a lot of other things. And then you can also place restrictions, and we wouldn't be the only one to do it. I mean, the restrictions are all throughout these examples that Jim and Amy brought forward to us.
Magistrate Hounds.
Talking about above grade, what about below grade? Because there are distilleries that are currently looking at below-grade storage because it's climate-controlled at 50 whatever degrees 24/7. So how would we handle below-grade storage?
Well, I suppose we can either spell it out as being exempt or add it to the total square footage allowed of the building.
Wouldn't be a building, though. Well, it would be underground.
Oh, but not underground in a building, so you have multi-stories, but one of those or two of those are underground. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Not rock quarries.
Oh, got it.
Let me jump in for just a second. That would be part of the work that we need to do to find out the correct way to handle it. So in other words, I don't think that it's a defined answer today.
Well, I agree.
But I'm
that's a
saying-
talking point.
Yeah, but I'm saying what we need to do, rather than have a specific question today, is what we need to, our first concern is the people that live in Oldham County. We've got to make sure that if it's a good business, it's placed in a correct place where it doesn't create any problems. And then when we have these questions, they're perfectly good questions, but I think for Amy to know the answer or Jim to know the answer today, we need to go out and find out what is the right answer from people that have either done it right or done it wrong. But, and it's a perfectly great question. I just don't think you're going to get the best answer today unless you all specifically gone out and researched that, and if you have,
We haven't, but I think the short answer is if it's in an existing quarry, it's already zoned industrial, and those are permitted uses. So you can do warehousing in an industrial zoning classification today. So
It doesn't specifically say barrel warehousing, but what we were proposing is if a distillery is a permitted use in I-1 and I-2, then barrel warehousing would be the same because 99% of the time they're usually on the same property.
You would be able to do storage in I-1, I-2, and agricultural.
In agricultural, it would be a conditional use permit, which would require public review and go before the appropriate Board of Adjustments. If it's zoned I-1 or I-2, it would be a permitted use, and they would be able to do it by right.
they would then just have to meet the building codes for, containment and all the other issues, but
Yes,
they could
sir.
do it.
you're saying if we made the decision to keep it in I-1 or I-2 versus place it in the other.
You would add ag.
You would
We would
add
add
ag.
ag. We would keep it in industrial and then add it in agricultural.
My comment on where I start, it'll no longer be in I-1 or I-2. Distilleries will be a specified conditional use in ag, not with the other. That's where I'm coming from. Are you proposing that we should consider industrial as well?
It would be my opinion that you would add it in ag and keep it in the industrial where it is already permitted. You would
Add
add
to.
another opportunity for those private property owners, to have that on their agricultural acreage. Keeping in mind that in the agricultural acreage, it's got to be at least 50 acres and it's got to have a 200-foot setback. In those industrial zones, you would have almost no setback.
And that's the problem with having it industrial, because the fermentation produces I don't know what the technical word is, we'll just call it a mold residue from the fermenting of the product. And that, because of the proximity of other businesses, creates a problem on those businesses. I'm in my thinking, it's not an I-1 or I-2, it needs to be in the other. So in what you said, now you know what I'm really thinking. We may have that little bit different agreement.
And this is a good discussion, but remember, we don't have a real lot of unoccupied industrial land that's big enough to be able to accommodate it. So if, there's one in the county, and he was lucky that there was a vacant building that he was interested in. It was already zoned industrial, and that's the one in Crestwood. So I don't think that situation's going to come up again, because in working with the David and Sandy at the Chamber of Commerce, they're always asking, well, where could this go? Not just distilleries, and there's very little already zoned industrial land that this would fit in. So keep that in mind, because then if they did come and want to get closer in town and change the zoning, it would come before the legislative body, whether it's you or a city.
Manager Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I don't hardly know where to start. I have mixed feelings about barrel warehouses being out in the country. I personally think they need to be in an industrial zone myself. You got to prepare, you got to plan. That's what this is all about. I think we need to get up to speed on this, but I don't exactly know when this bubble's going to burst. How many distilleries can you have in a state that prides itself on quality? I know they're a tourist attraction, and I understand that, but there's just so many of them I think you can build and still have an attraction and get people to come see them. Secondly, chemistry is not my strong suit. I've struggled with it greatly. But I will tell you that an underground storage with a constant temperature is probably not what you want for bourbon. I think you want the fluctuation of the seasons and the different temperatures, just like we've had almost 90 degrees a week ago today, and now we have a high of 58. That's what makes bourbon. It's not the constant temperature.
True. I know the Maker's Mark is doing some experimentation in the rock face as you go into the distillery, and there's others that are looking at similar means. You know, again, I'm not going to challenge your chemistry with mine because we're probably on the same level, but they're obviously looking at those types of things, and I think that there is some opportunity with some space that is in Oldham County that could potentially present itself.
Go ahead, Judge.
Well, I'm going to say, these are permitted, distilleries permitted in industrial right now, right?
Correct.
Correct.
All right, so you're telling me if a Treehouse announces they're selling out to Seagram's, that Seagram's could put a distillery there with no ifs, ands, or buts from us?
Correct.
I personally like the agriculture idea, but I would still like to see, I'm not perfectly comfortable with surrendering our ability as a fiscal court to determine where something goes to another group of people. I would like to see, can we create a special ag district that would be for that only, that would have to come through here?
You could create a zoning district that would be called agribusiness.
Agri-distillery.
Or ag business, and that would be the 6 to 9 month process of a rezoning. And then that would go to the appropriate legislative body, and then you would only have a certain listed permitted uses and conditional uses in that new zoning classification. So that's an option as well. Yes, sir.
Why does it take 6 to 9 months on a normal for zoning change? Walk me through that.
Well, first you go to the technical review committee, and then the following month, the planning commission, and then the minutes have to be approved, and then there's 2 readings if it came in front of fiscal court. You meet twice a month. We have to advertise. So we always say that, could it be 6 months? Yes, if everything on the calendar lines up, but we try to be realistic that it's a longer process sometime. It all depends when the applicant is actually ready to submit. So we have to make sure and hit the advertising.
They're required to have
deadlines.
neighborhood meetings as well, so they have to have a neighborhood meeting before they go to technical review committee. So once they have the pre-application with us, then they have to have a neighborhood meeting, then they have technical review committee, then they take the comments that they received from agencies, usually have to update their plan, which will take a month before the filing deadline. They can't meet that next filing deadline, which is usually the next week. Yeah. So it's usually just advertising requirements and public meeting requirements.
No longer than the 8 or 9 months,
Not usually.
Yeah.
sometime
Yeah,
short.
that would only be on the applicant at that point if it took longer than that, because they took them longer to modify their plans to meet the specifications required.
And then we always add in, there's 30 days appeal process at the end of all that, in case somebody felt aggrieved and filed an appeal. So
That's not on us, though.
it's not. No.
Judge.
Measured hounds.
And I guess one of the things confusing, are we talking about, would we force somebody who has a warehouse to have a distillery? Is that our plan? Or we just want to do storage?
The way that it's drafted right now is that if you want to have barrel warehouse on your property, you're not required to have a distillery.
So we could have, one piece of the puzzle is just storage, barrel warehouses. Then the other piece of the puzzle could be distillery and warehouse.
Chances are good, if somebody's going to put in a distillery, they're probably going to look for barrel warehousing on the same piece of property.
So it would be a permitted use in that agricultural zone, as long as and you'll see in that draft, it says that they can have barrel warehouses on the ag property as a permitted use as long as they have a distillery up and running within 24 months.
So there's really two pieces to the puzzle, the distillery and the
Barrel warehouses.
warehouses.
Yes, it's two separate items. Yes, sir.
I just want, that's what I understood. I just wanted to make sure I was right.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure we've clarified the issue here,
Well, but Judge, thank you. At least we have started this discussion. I again encourage magistrates and citizens to come to the Study Review Committee meetings. They meet on
It's next Thursday.
next Thursday at 5 o'clock in the Fiscal Court conference room. I always welcome your direction on this so we can sort it out before we go and propose something and then find out that it is something different than what you all had in mind. So thank you for your input at this point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next item here has to do with job description. Tina Shaw, is she here? For the dispatch? I guess she is here. All right.
Good afternoon. Before the court today for consideration are 3 job descriptions for dispatch. They have been reviewed by the dispatch director and the changes presented to the HR committee, and they were tweaked there. So we have, and now they're before you for approval today. There's telecommunicator 1, telecommunicator 2, and the shift supervisor for dispatch.
Judge, I'd like to make a recommendation. We accept these job descriptions as read.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on this? Would you just like to outline what the minor changes or what the major changes have been?
Mostly it was formatting. We have job descriptions that were 4 and 5 pages long that had some things in there that really, it just needed reformatting and the updating on the systems used and the, basically the supervisory responsibilities. There wasn't a whole lot, mostly formatting though.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item are the personnel actions. Tina?
Yes, we have a new hire for the police department. It is Nicholas Smith. He is coming to us as a 5-year lateral. He's coming from Bardstown Police Department. His base hourly rate would be $24.50 per hour, and that would be effective tomorrow.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one.
The next item, we would like to hire some part-time telecommunicators, some dispatchers, to help us through a shortage we're having right now. So we are proposing part-time dispatchers that are already certified working for another agency, coming to help us out picking up shifts on a part-time temporary basis. So they would be paid $25 an hour, no other benefits, no retirement, anything like that. We don't have to pay retirement on them. And hopefully, we would only use them for just a little while until we get people certified, hired and certified.
Would they work a full shift?
It all depends. They probably, I would say, they would work 1 full shift, maybe 2 a week. Trying to keep them, under the 100 hours a month. So we don't have to pay retirement on them anyways, but
Well, I'm concerned
Under the
about
30.
them, but I'm also concerned about somebody working 16 hours in a day.
exactly.
I've seen that with firefighters, EMS, and it doesn't work real great, I don't think.
Right.
But anyway, just concerned about that.
Right. I'm not sure how the scheduling is going to go. I'm sure Tim will consider
I
that.
have full confidence in our dispatch director.
Right. So there is Shelby Grant, Whitney Lyell, and Justin Powell. And that would start on November 1st.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And the last item is a resignation in the engineer's office. Jen Shane will be leaving us effective October 18th.
All right. I'd like to ask Jen to come forward here. Come on, Jen. You know, we can vote no on this.
I don't know what you're going to do if you do that.
Well, you're putting us between a rock and a hard place because we want to vote no, but we want to wish you the best as well.
Thank you.
You've done an excellent job for us as our Curry's Fork coordinator, or I guess it's been, 3 years or 4?
Yeah, about 3.5.
3.5 years. It's, I know are going to go on and be a full-time school teacher in Jefferson
science.
County. Is that right? So, and we certainly wish you the very best and thank you for everything you've done here.
Thanks so much.
Mr. Eldridge, you.
I would like to say, I was here when Ms. Shane came on board, and I can't express how much of a breath of fresh air she was to that program. The leadership we'd had in the past had been stifling, and just been really great to work with, and you will be missed. Thank you so much for your job and what you've done for Oldham County.
Thank you. Thanks. Just because I rarely get up here, I just wanted to say a couple things because a lot of you may not be aware of the program, so I just wanted to just say a couple words about it. And I know there are new magistrates potentially coming in and things like that, but I just wanted to say that one thing, a big thank you to Scott Harris and the rest of the engineering department. They're amazing. The county is so lucky to have them. They work their butts off. Excuse me for saying that, but they really, really do. They work so hard. But I also wanted to just commend the county on embarking on having a watershed program. Most counties don't have that. The county is not unique in that it has impaired streams that are not fishable or swimmable. We all want our kids to be able to play in the creek without getting sick. And there's a lot of creeks that's not the case for. And Oldham County, went ahead and tried to do something about it, and that is fantastic. It's all done through federal funds, so the county's not actually paying anything. The match is not even coming, most of it, from the county even. So it's a great chance for us to make a difference in water quality and as well as just the quality of life for people in Oldham County without costing much. So it's a great program, and you're to be commended for having it going on, and I hope that you continue it. But hopefully we've moved it a little bit. One big thing that you should be aware of in Magistrate Hauntz's district is a septic cost share program that we launched. It's in a priority pathogen area. So it's an area where we know we have pathogens in the water, and it's the highest priority because the only place they can really be coming from is septic systems. So we're working with the people in that area to try to fix the problem. So you'll hopefully be hearing about the results of that in the future. Thank you. It's been
All right,
great.
Jen, thank you very much, and we appreciate the service you provided for the people of Oldham County. Thank you. Is there a motion to accept this resignation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda here is appointment to the Board of Adjustments. Would like to reappoint Mike Riley to fulfill the unexpired term of Todd Pearson. Todd's had, some medical issues that have, caused him to be unable to, appear at the board meetings. And so I thank Todd very much for his service. And we look forward to having him work with us again in the future, but right now he's not able to. So Mike Riley has been with us in the past. He's done a great job, and he agreed to come forward again. And so I'd like to recommend that we reappoint Charles Mike Riley Jr. to the Oldham County Board of Adjustments.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to the second public comment here. Has anybody come in that would like to address the Fiscal Court?
Judge, members of the court, I'm not here in my capacity as EMA director. I'm here in my capacity as the public information officer for the Pee Wee Valley Fire Department. And it is much with the knowledge that I'd be here. Indirectly, I've been asked by the mayor of Pee Wee Valley, Mr. Rogers, to point out a very important fundraiser that'll be happening on the 27th in Pee Wee Valley. It is a fundraiser, a 5K for the court-appointed special advocates region, river region, those also known as CASA. That's a group that supports and helps. They're all volunteers, and they're there for the safe and location of children who need some protection. And it's an all-volunteer group, and they're having a 5K run walk on the 27th in Pee Wee Valley. It starts at St. Aloysius Church. There is a $25 entry fee. Children under 12 are free. You're even allowed to wear superhero costumes if you like. I'm not sure with the weather that tights will be in order, but nonetheless, if you'd wish to do that, you may do so. So I am just relaying the information from Mayor Rogers and for your knowledge and for those who may be listening.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it very
Thank you.
much. Anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court? Saying no one, we'll close the public comment and we'll go on to the final remarks of the meeting today. Magistrate Likens?
Nothing, Judge. Thank you.
Magistrate Tice?
Nothing today. Thank you, though.
Magistrate Leslie?
Yes, Judge. For a change, I have something to say. It's been an honor to serve on fiscal court for 16 years, and it's also been an honor specifically to work with the group that's up here today. A lot of people don't realize, but Oldham County is the #1 fiscally run county in the entire state, and there's a reason for that. That's the people that sit up here. And I would encourage in a few weeks for people to please vote to put the same people back up here. They have served you honorably, they've served you well. They don't just serve for 2 meetings a month. They serve a lot of their time when they're not here, helping with training, constituents calls, and all variety of different things within the community. And that's what makes this fiscal court such a great fiscal court. I wish everybody in a few weeks the very best in the election. I hope you get reelected. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Appreciate those comments. Magistrate Greenwell?
Judge, I can't top that.
Magistrate Hounds?
Nothing, sir.
Magistrate Eldridge?
Thank you, Judge. I'm not running for office this fall, but several other magistrates, Judge Vogel, David Osborne, David Pendleton, Ernie Harris, all these men from our county are. A woman currently running for magistrate has posted a picture on Facebook of all of these men. It has their heads circled in blue. The heading says in part, "These are people we could replace with women." A sample of the comments are, "Getting rid of old men is a start." Yet another says, "Just give us our 9 grams of lead," a reference to a Russian bullet to the head. I'm praying that I'm not the only person that finds this rhetoric disgusting. Since when did it come in vogue to base your vote, let alone a reference to a bullet to the head, on age or gender? There's a horrible dark blanket of hatred and vitriol that is coming over this country. Don't let it come to Oldham County as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Dye?
I can't top Bob or Kevin, so I've got nothing.
Magistrate Logston?
Yes, there's going to be a movie night this Saturday at the park in Pee Wee Valley. It's going to start at 6:45. The movie, that's when you can decorate bags and trick or treat with the kids. And at 7:30 is going to be the movie. So I looked up the temperature. It's going to be 59 degrees during the day and 37 at night. So if you're coming, please bring a lot of blankets. So it doesn't say what the movie is. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, as the oldest person still sitting here, Mr. Carter left the room, or I couldn't say that. I don't feel old. I'm the 71's the new 51, and I'm excited about the future of Oldham County. We've got a beautiful county, and we're going to have a great future. The sun is going to shine high, and things are going to continue to go well in our county. So I appreciate the comments that have been made here. I want to, we had the Ironman competition this last weekend, and of course, we had an awful day for it. It in itself, creates a certain amount of inconvenience for people, and we're sympathetic to that. We're part of the larger region that benefits from having 3,000 or 4,000 people show up every year to participate in this, stay in hotels, eat in restaurants, speak well of our region when they leave. There's good things about this, and there's some things that people have to put up with that are unhappy. But I think on balance, it's a very positive thing for us. I'm very proud of what happened from our emergency personnel during the weekend. Our police, our EMS, our dispatch, our state road workers, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, all came to the forefront. The weather was terrible. A number of riders that had jumped into the river, gotten on their bicycles, got out here, and were overcome by hypothermia. And our people went into work very quickly to secure all the blankets in the region, and I do mean in the region. Police went dispatched to Audubon Hospital, as far away as there, to get blankets for the several hundred riders that were overcome and had to drop out. I thought our personnel did a wonderful job, and we're very proud of the professional people that we have, and that the exposure that these people give our community to the visitors that come here. We stood high and proud, I thought, with the people that we had out working, and I thank all of them for being out there and doing just a great job. So, Chief Smith, to your men, thank you, and to dispatch, Tim, thank you. Jerry, thank you for emergency services. No one here right now from EMS, I don't believe, but Sheriff's Department was out there as well. Don't want to leave you guys out. I didn't see everybody, but I know they were all out there, and they all stood tall and did well for all of us. So thank you all very much. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion carried.